Billy stared up at the imposing building, the Grand Blackwood Hotel. It was a place of legends, whispered about in hushed tones. Stories of its grandeur and mystery had reached far and wide. It loomed over him, a grand old dame draped in shadows. The moonlight cast eerie patterns on its ancient facade, making it look almost alive. A shiver ran down his spine, but he squared his shoulders and entered. The heavy wooden doors creaked open, revealing a dimly lit interior that seemed to whisper secrets of the past. The lobby smelled of dust and old furniture. The air was thick with the scent of history, as if the walls themselves held memories of days gone by. Cobwebs clung to the corners of ornate chandeliers. They swayed gently in the draft, adding to the eerie atmosphere. Behind the check-in desk, a man with a drooping mustache eyed him sleepily. His eyes were half closed, as if he had been waiting for an eternity. "Here for the night?" the man rasped, his voice like dry leaves. It was a voice that seemed to belong to the hotel itself, ancient and weary. "Just one," Billy confirmed, setting his backpack on the worn counter. The counter felt rough under his fingers, a testament to the countless travelers who had passed through. The man handed him a heavy brass key. It was cold to the touch, and its weight felt significant, as if it held more than just the promise of a room. Room 206, end of the hall. The words echoed in Billy's mind as he made his way down the dimly lit corridor, each step taking him deeper into the heart of the Grand Blackwood Hotel. As Billy reached for the key, the man's hand clamped down on his wrist. His grip was surprisingly strong. "And listen, son," he whispered, his breath hot on Billy's ear. "Don't go near 207, just stay away." Billy pulled back, startled. "What? Why?" The old man released him, his face a mask of indifference again. "Just a bit of advice," he mumbled, turning away. Billy stared at the man's back, then at the key in his hand. Room 206, right next to 207. A strange feeling settled in his stomach. Billy found his room easily. The hallway was eerily quiet, with only the sound of his footsteps echoing off the walls. It was dark and musty, just like the lobby. The air was thick with dust, and the dim light barely illuminated the corners of the room. He dropped his bag on the bed and tried to ignore the feeling of being watched. The silence was almost deafening, making every creak and groan of the old building seem louder. His gaze kept drifting to the door next door, 207. It seemed to call to him, pulling his attention away from everything else. What was in there? Why had the man warned him? Curiosity gnawed at him. The questions swirled in his mind, refusing to be ignored. He couldn't help himself. He had to know. The allure of the unknown was too strong to resist. Quietly, Billy tiptoed to the door of 207. His heart pounded in his chest, each beat echoing in his ears. He pressed his ear against the cold wood. Silence. Not a single sound came from the other side. He held his breath and tried the handle. Locked. The door didn't budge an inch. He noticed a small, dusty keyhole. It was almost hidden, blending in with the old wood. Taking a deep breath, he leaned down and peered through it. What he saw made his heart skip a beat. At first, all he saw was darkness. Then, as his eyes adjusted, he made out a figure. A woman, dressed in white, stood facing the far wall. She was utterly still. Her long, pale hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall of moonlight. He couldn't see her face, but he could feel her stillness, a silence that seemed to suck the air from his lungs. Billy's heart pounded in his chest. He wanted to look away, but he couldn't tear his eye from the keyhole. Who was she, and why didn't she move? Finally, with a shudder, Billy pulled himself away from the door. He stumbled back to his room, his mind racing. The image of the motionless woman in white was burned into his mind. Sleep was a long time coming. Every creak of the old building, every whisper of wind through the trees outside sent shivers down his spine. He kept seeing her, that pale figure, frozen in the darkness. Morning couldn't come soon enough. As soon as the first rays of dawn peeked through the dusty window, the world seemed to awaken with a soft, golden hue. Billy was out of bed in an instant, his heart racing with anticipation and dread. He had to see if she was still there, the mysterious woman who had haunted his dreams and waking moments. He crept back to room 207, each step echoing in the silent hallway, his breath shallow and quick. His hand trembling as he reached for the keyhole, he peered through, hoping against hope. His heart pounded in his ears, a deafening drumbeat of fear and anticipation. This time the room wasn't empty. The air was thick with an eerie presence, but the woman in white was gone. vanished like a wisp of smoke. In her place, a single, horrifying detail filled his vision, sending chills down his spine. The wall, directly in front of where the woman had stood, was now marked with a sinister red stain. It wasn't just a stain, the entire wall was covered in a single chilling color, red. The color of blood, the color of fear. Billy stumbled back, his blood turning to ice. What did it mean? Where was the woman? And what was the red on the wall? He had to get out of there. He raced back to his room, grabbed his bag and fled down the hallway. As he burst out of the hotel into the bright morning sunshine, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was leaving something unfinished behind. Something terrifying.